Welcome back. It's called the Negro Motorist Green Book exhibition in conjunction with the Smithsonian Institution Traveling Exhibition Service. This is a fascinating look back at our history in this book that provided important information for African Americans who were traveling and need to know where they could stay or where they could eat or be entertained, something that was not necessarily easy in the Jim Crow segregated South. The Green Book was one of several black motorist guides in circulation, and as you might guess, there were many locations identified in Texas, and some of them in Houston, still in existence today. Joining me this morning to talk about this history is Leslie Wolfenden, the Historic Resources Survey Coordinator for the History Programs Division of the Texas Historical Commission, and Danielle Rose Dixon, Community and Library Liaison for Democratizing Racial Justice and African American Studies Lecturer at the University of Texas at San Antonio. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. Morning.
So let me ask you, what are your thoughts now about when you think about the kind of exhibit that's underway now, and it's really about history. What are your thoughts about what value it adds to our society just to be able to go and see those kinds of things?
It's an underreported history, part of our history that most people don't know about. Mm-hmm. And what American history has been very focused on the white history. Mm-hmm. And black history is slowly disappearing and we're not talking about it. So my aspect here is to bring this to the forefront and to educate people about the black history and the importance of what they did in terms of education and civil rights, music, food, social history, and things like that.
And so, Danielle, you talk about some of the values you see from the exhibit that we have going on here now, what it can do for all of us in terms of our education.
Yes, definitely. Especially as an African-American woman, I feel really prideful as I look over these exhibits. It's always surprising to me how many African-Americans don't know about Green Books themselves, so I love bringing that perspective to them and helping give a little peek inside their own ancestral history. So
some of a few of the places in the original Green Book, I found this very interesting, that exist today, and you found some of those. One of them is the El Dorado Ballroom. It's on the corner of Elgin and Emancipation. This is from back in the day. You can see the cars there. A picture from back in the day. I went out and I shot a picture this week from that same location, kind of get that same angle, if you will, and there it is today. It still looks very much like it did then. Mm-hmm. Talk about that, Ms. Wolfenden, about that building and what it means to have it rejuvenated and in action today, because it is historical.
The El Dorado Ballroom was at the hub of the Third Ward, and they had businesses on the bottom floor, a pharmacy and a barber shop, as well as others. And then on the top floor was the ballroom, mm-hmm. which was used for musical events and social get-togethers, proms, and various other things like that. And to have it still existing today, and it just had its grand reopening earlier this year, mm-hmm. was just phenomenal to have that as the center of the hub of the Third Ward.
And there are other buildings in the city of Houston that are existing now that were a part of the Green Book as well, right?
That's correct.
How many are we talking about?
There are 9 left out of 65.
Okay. Well, that's
about 14%.
Yeah, well, at least we got that, right?
Yes.
Also, Danielle, I saw that there were a couple of buildings representing schools, education. And I didn't know anything about a Conroe school. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that. I looked at this, well, what Conroe, what is that all about? Conroe, and then there's Prairie View, and also I saw one of the early diagrams of what is now Texas Southern University, which was laid out as a school for Negroes as well. Your thoughts and your focus on that and how important it is to be able to know that exists.
Yeah, so the Green Books that I've looked at, they list a total of 15 HBCUs, 3 of which are in the Houston area. Conroe Normal and Industrial School is definitely a lesser known campus. It was founded in the early 1800s by a reverend and a local professor, and eventually became a full-fledged running university. It did not survive past the Great Depression, but the building still stands. And in fact, Leslie and I found an article that was written in 2021 with plans to rejuvenate the standing campus and turn it into a community space where they can have cooking classes and gardening classes. So we're interested to see in the forthcoming years or however long what the campus will turn into. But yes, there's a lot of history surrounding what we know today as Prairie View A&M University, as well as Texas Southern University, and there are efforts to continue to preserve these places. They were hubs of safety and community for Black Americans during this time. A lot of social activism happened on these campuses as well. So I loved learning about the history and, having them still standing here in Houston and being known for their academics and their sports and their bands. It's amazing.
Leslie, you've devoted a lot of time to doing this. What kind of feedback do you get from people along the way as you bring the awareness to them about what historically is in this state and what it means?
It has been overall very positive. I can't tell you how many people have said, I knew nothing about this, and oh, that's so fascinating. Why don't we do more about it? Mm-hmm. And so I'm gradually getting people who volunteer to do some research for me or take photographs of the existing sites around the state of Texas.
What next for you? What do you do in terms of trying to elevate this conversation?
I give presentations when I'm asked, like I did last night for the Holocaust Museum Houston, and I've also done it for the Irving Archives and Museum, which I did up in January. And also just reaching out to the various schools who are helping me. Danielle here is with UTSA, and we're hoping that we're going to coordinate together to do have our students work on this project.
Well, I think it's fascinating. I told them earlier that I was a history major before I was a sociology major, before I was a journalism major. But it's always been the basic foundation of what I've really enjoyed. I thank you for your presence here today, enlightening us a little bit more. I want to give you some details about the Green Book exhibit that's going on at the Holocaust Museum. It's there until November 26th. There are a number of free opportunities, by the way. ExxonMobil Family Free Sundays, the first and third Sundays. 18 and under and college students are always free. How about that? You cannot get a better deal than that. It's 5401 Caroline Street, Holocaust Museum, Houston. Leslie Wolfenden, Danielle Rose Dixon, thank you for your time and your expertise. Safe travels. Just tell them what they need to know. Sometimes they don't want to know it, but tell them anyway. Just ahead, it is a nonprofit called Magnificat Houses. It's a unique way to offer support for the homeless, mentally ill, and others. What they need right now and how you can help. That's next.